Okay, this is Dr. Satish Singhal again, part 3 of debugging missized programs. So, in the last one I showed you that in employee list we were able to look at the add function, and we were able to look at that this part here, when number of elements stays less than the length, got executed properly. And but if length is 30 or something, it's going to take me too long to check this second part here. So what I did temporarily, I changed the initial capacity to 1, which will set the length to 1, and default grow by 1 also. So each time after adding the first one, um, when I add a new employee, the add function should execute this else block here actually. Okay, and that will be a good proof for us to ascertain that this else block, which is a long block, is working correctly. Okay, so I've done that, and then what I did was I had already added one employee John Doe here. I created second employee Mary Doe. Notice that social security number is different and hours are different. And then I added the third employee Jim Adams, and social security number is different from those two. But then I added EMP3 twice. So in this call here, social security number got duplicated. Oh, actually, I don't know why I have this one. Delete that. And duplication means the find function should reject that. Okay. So let me compile it first, and then I will go through the add function line by line, so that we can see that when, let's see, number of elements below length, that part is working, and when length needs to be expanded, that part is working. So just compile that now. Okay, and does say enroll relevant changes. Let's see if rebuild will say the same thing. Okay, so I should do rebuild actually. That does rebuild the whole thing. Okay, fine. Alright, so now I know that this one works because capacity is 1, so this is going to work, so I really don't have much problem with this one. And when this, I call this one, this is going to go through else part. So I'm just going to put my cursor here, F9, and then just say run to cursor. And this is so intriguing. Why should really run to cursor rather than, okay, so here I'm finding a problem. Okay, destination. Okay, let's do this. Let me stop debugging and then go line by line from the main. So just do F10, 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 add employee. We know that was fine. Create second one. This time I'm going to do F11 and jump here. Found was false, so not find will be true. This time number of elements is 1, and length was never initialized. So how did that happen? Oh, actually let's go past this. So length is fine actually. No, length was never initialized. So there's some problem with the length actually. So let's look at the default constructor. Okay, we just found a bug. The length was never initialized, so we need to put that in. Maybe that was one of the line deleted actually. So we just found a bug actually. Length equal to initial capacity, right? There you go. So we just found a bug, and that means we stop debugging and compile it again. So certainly that was one of the lines that got deleted, and I didn't catch it at that time, but now I caught it. So let's run it again. F10. So I know this one does work, and this one, the first addition worked. Then we create this. Now F11, and now, okay, well, let's get into the function. Not found. What is the length? Length is 1 now. Number of elements is 1. So this will be false. Okay, so everything is good now. And then we go to jump to else block as we did. So list is being grown this time. So F10, and growing list to accommodate. So this shows up right there. So that means now else block will be executed. And so we do F10. So length should be 2 now. Yeah, it is 2 because number of elements is 1 and grow by is by 1 actually. So now we are copying one element from the current list to the temp. So F10 is just going to go one loop. We delete the list, and then we make list point to where temp is pointing. And you can see right now the list will show the same content and temp will show the same content. Okay, you can see that in the bubble, or you can expand the bubble. Either way is fine. Okay, and then I set the new employee, which is Marido. You can see it in the bubble clearly, into the list, add it to the list. It will be added to the index 1, and did that, made number of elements to 2 now, and set the list state to 1 in case it got changed by menu driven program. Employee added successfully. Set this to null pointer, return true. True return value I'm not using, and that got added. So I can check this also here, that it does have number of elements equal to 2, and of course over here it's going to go first. It's going to show only 1. In the watch you can actually expand this further, and then I'm just going to do F10 to add gematoms, and since my code looked okay for the else block, I'm going to go through that and add that. Well, actually jump to that anyway, to the, okay, now I know I have to press F10 to get to the cursor actually, and I'll quickly go through it because it looks like everything is okay. And so that got added. Okay, so now I'm going to remove my breakpoint because it looks like this part is working okay, and go back here and do another F10. But this time I'm duplicating the employee, so I should get a message here on the console that employee is already there. Okay, and I think it should be there. Employee is already in the list, no change to the list. So since duplicate social security number, and now I just print the list and do another F10. And let's look at the list here. So it should have 3 guys, 3 people, and it does John Doe 40 hours, $10 an hour, 400. Mary Doe 40 hours, $15 per hour, 600. Jim Adams 39 hours, 12 hours, $12 per hour, 486. And so it looks to me now, and I can just go stop debugging, that my following functions are working correctly. So what are those? let's see, and those are my default constructor, my find function, this one, my add employee function, my toString, okay, not this find, and then my toString function. We can look up here. Okay, sorry about that. We can look up here where that is. toString. This one seems to be working okay. And then my destructor. Okay, so those are all working correctly, at least with this amount of data we have done. They seem to be working correctly. Next thing I need to do is use a file that will have larger amount of data, because it gets tiring by entering the data by hand. We have done as much as we can entering the data by hand. So for that we have to code in the get instance that reads from the file. Okay, so we look at the get instance that reads from the file right here, and so first thing I do is I comment out the throw part, but I uncomment the part that I think, at least for now, that works correctly. And so let's eyeball this. If in is good, then I do this. Otherwise, I say if stream is in failed condition, and I do a return. And in .peak is not UF. Notice is full is removed here, because you no longer need that, because list is not going to be full. And create an employee, get instance of employee class, pass it the if stream, and add employee. And since add employee takes care of everything, the list state and everything, it looks like to me there's no bug in there, but we'll find out by testing. And let's compile it right now. Control Shift B, and it succeeded. That means there are no obvious errors. So I go to my main, and here was the code that I had put there earlier for if stream object. I hard coded the file name. You can always do that, hard code the file name with the entire path. And now I can actually explicitly use the list. Let me pause it for a second. Okay, so I added the code to open the file and call the get instance that takes the if stream object explicitly, and I can show the file to you later. And basically I'm building now from the file. I can show you file in a second if I have time. And now compile the program. Actually, let's clean it up first. So we made it again, and Control Shift B. And we run it, Control F5. So notice in this case it will keep the employee we had earlier, like John Doe, and we had 3 of them up to Jim Adams, but rest of them got added from the file. And the last employee in the file was Mary Morgan, and I can open the file and show you that this file was used, and last employee is Mary Morgan. So now it seems to me that we have confirmed that in our program get instance from the file is working also. We are already now we can confirm whether next we can confirm whether get instance from the keyboard is working or not. So that will be done in part 4. We are done up to part 3, and there might be part 5, 6 or 7 to just do the whole program, but we have at least confirmed up to the get instance that everything is working okay. So get instance, find, add, default constructor and destructor, and toString, they are all working correctly now.